am going to just sort of be overseeing this event. Really, your stars of the show are everyone else that you see here on the screen. As you sort of go throughout, if you guys could please put your first and last name into the chat box and what high school that you guys go to. And then throughout this event, please feel free, if you'd like to turn your cameras on, you're more than welcome to. If not, we understand. Since there are a smaller group of you guys, please feel free to also unmute yourself and interact as much as possible. I know a lot of times you guys might feel a little bit more comfortable putting your questions in the chat box, which I will encourage you to do as well. If you do have any questions of anything that comes up, please feel free to utilize that chat box. And if you don't feel comfortable talking, then we can sort of say your questions aloud and then get them answered for you, okay? All right, guys, well, I will have Dave, if you'd like to start, Dr. Riley, and then we can sort of have you guys all introduce yourselves, and the floor is yours.
Okay, great. And we have one more that's coming?
Yes, we should have one more that will be popping in.
Okay. So maybe we could start with some introductions while we're waiting. So thanks for coming, Joey and Paige and Reagan. Nice to meet you all virtually. If you do want to turn on your video so that we can see you at some point, it'd be nice to know who we're talking to. My name's Dave, Dr. Riley. I'm the one of the faculty advisors for the Justice Houses, and Professor Hinckley is another, and we have a third, Professor Pickering, who isn't here tonight. And then we also have Mairead and Matt, who are peer mentors. They're students, upperclassmen living in the houses with the freshmen, and so we have a mixed group of students at all levels, ranging from freshman up through senior. And the whole concept is geared around the idea that we're creating a living and learning community that is really student-led. And so you'll see tonight, we'll turn it over very quickly to Mairead and Matt to really describe this, because it's much more about them than it is about us. But let me just tell you really quickly about myself. I am I've been a faculty member now at Niagara for 20 years. I'm the chair of the political science department, and my research used to be on terrorism and political violence, and it's sort of changed over time to where I'm working on social movement issues, surveillance state issues, and the commons, creating common spaces, and how that serves as a form of resistance to certain aspects of society. I'm also, in my off time, I co-founded a nonprofit called the Citizen Coalition for Wildlife and Environment, which is geared around habitat protection and wildlife protection. So I do a lot of environmental stuff. I am a, what's the term? I can't even remember the term of it now. I'm officially a wildlife, for lack of a better way to put it, expert according to New York State. I'm drawing a blank on the term right now, but so I've gone through a number of classes and worked on that, and have a lot of experience in dealing with habitat restoration and issues like that. And I'm interested in activism and a variety of other aspects of engagement within society. So that's me in a nutshell, and I'll turn it over to Professor Hinckley.
All right. Well, let me add my words of welcome. Very glad to be with you today. My name is Kevin Hinckley. In addition to being a faculty member, I'm a Niagara University alum. So Dr. Riley was one of my professors when I was a student at Niagara. I went on to Harvard Law School. I clerked for a federal court of appeals judge. I worked for an international law firm in Washington, D.C., and have been fortunate enough to come back to Niagara, where I teach in the political science department. I also serve as the director of our pre-law program. So I am absolutely delighted to serve as one of the faculty advisors for the justice houses, and we'll have a chance to talk much more about what the houses are, what we're planning for next year in the houses, and you'll get to hear from Matt and Mairead about their experience in the houses. So one aspect that I'd like to highlight right at the outset is the opportunity within the justice houses to bring together the academic, the extracurricular, the residential, and the social dimensions of your experience as a college student. And we think that has tremendous advantages and really is a unique opportunity for students who come to Niagara and who have a passion for earth and the environment, for social justice, for legal advocacy and justice, or any combination of those. So as a student in the justice houses, you would get a chance to live and work together with other students who share your passions. And in this environment, in this community, you will take courses together. You will have a chance to work on projects together on campus and in the broader community. You have access to us as faculty advisors and to peer mentors who share their knowledge and experience, and a host of events and activities throughout the year. And we'll be able to talk more about some of those. But I think at this point, we would invite Matt and Mairead to give an introduction, talk a little bit about your experience in the houses as peer mentors.
And to that end, I just put really quickly just a list of different ideas that you might want to use or not. It's up to you, just as some different pieces to bounce off of. So it's always.
You want to go, Matt, or?
I'll go first, sure. Hello, everyone. It's great to be able to be here. My name is Matt McKenzie. I'm a senior political science international studies major here in the social justice houses. And then, like mentioned before, me and Mairead are both peer mentors here. So we're, of course, upperclassmen. We kind of help guide, also kind of like help students settle into our unique living experience here on campus, which is, I think, one of my favorite place that I've lived on campus. Pretty much two reasons I joined the houses. I was looking for a community that was pretty kind of like-minded like myself. I've always been interested in social movements and trying to understand what they're about, like what the mission and the theory behind those are, wrapped up, especially with the way the world's going on right now. And then also looking for a place to take what you learn in the classroom, especially from classes that we've had with Professor Hinckley and Dr. Riley, and apply them to real life on and off campus. Throughout the semester, I've been lucky enough to be able to work on like Workers' Appreciation Days, being able to work on environmental projects here with the house, and then also with clubs that I've been a part of. But with the houses, we have, of course, projects connected with the class and then the houses that we take. So I'm with another peer mentor. I'm working on what is the Niagara Falls Clubhouse project, where it really is a big community center project for downtown Niagara Falls, and we are trying to build that connection from Niagara University to the Clubhouse project. I mean, like I mentioned before, like with everything going on consistently, like this is what we'll be talking about, what we've been working on with the houses. It's all interconnected with social movements, especially going on today. And it's really interesting being able to hear from a lot of different people, especially in the houses, from different walks of life, and then being able to kind of go and do those things. It provides you a community, like joining those social movements and going to like even a protest. It's scary to do individually, but like with the houses, you've had a community to be able to go and do those things with. Especially academics, you build a very close relationship with the professors. I've been lucky enough to really been able to take classes with them all 4 years that I've been here, and it's allowed for close personal relationships. Especially, we usually travel with the house. We do projects. It's really interesting. It's a very unique place to live, and from my friends that go to different universities, it's they any other place doesn't really have something like this. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So it's been great to being able to talk to you guys.
All right, my name's Mairead. I'm an international studies major with a pre-law minor and a senior this year, so I will be graduating. But kind of going off what Matt said, like one cool thing about the houses is when you're first year students and you enter a dorm, it takes a while to make friends. Like you have to join clubs and everything. Your roommate might be your friend, but it's not the same. Where when you're in the houses, we have 3 justice houses, and that's 30 people you meet automatically. And yeah, not all of them are going to be your best friends, but I know this year I've met a lot of first year students that I'm really good friends with, and those friendships will last a lifetime. So that's one cool thing about the houses that normal first year students don't really get to deal with. But going off of the course we take, so last semester we took a course that related to the houses, and other people were also in that course that don't live in the houses, but it kind of teaches you how to start a justice movement or how to advocate for things, because there's not many successful advocacy movements that aren't organized. So you need to learn how to organize, and that class is really helpful. So taking a class with the houses helps you learn more things. It helps you prepare for life if you want to continue advocacy after the houses. One cool project I'm working on that started in that class is a community garden project. So I don't know if you know much about Niagara Falls region, but we're right by a chemical waste dump in Love Canal. You might have heard of it. Chemicals were dumped there, caused huge pollution problems. So Niagara Falls needs a community garden. Community garden could help better the university and better the community as a whole. So working on little projects like that and making them expand can really help the community. And if you're really interested in something like that, I would consider moving into the justice houses when you graduate high school.
Thanks, Mairead. So let me just talk really quickly about the class and how it fits with the houses, and then we'll go back to Matt and Mairead. The class in the fall is organizing and advocating for justice. And basically what we do in that class is introduce you to injustice within society on a variety of different levels. You may already be very much exposed to those issues. You may be seeing them in the news, but we explore them from an analytical and an academic standpoint to really try and understand better what's going on. The second semester is a Justice in Action class. And what we do in that class is really focus on taking what we've learned from the theory of social movements and applying that to activism and becoming more active members of the campus. And so in order to do that, what we do is we bring in all sorts of experts to talk about their experiences, people who have been at the front line of social justice movements, people who have been in some way repressed or mistreated by society and their responses to that. I'll give you one example. Last year, well, let me ask this. Has anyone watched on HBO the documentary 40 Years a Prisoner? It just came out recently. Okay, that's your homework. It's the story of the MOVE organization in Philadelphia, and it centers on one activist by the name of Mike Africa Jr., who is basically trying to get his parents out of prison. But it goes beyond that. It really talks about the broader movement of what the MOVE organization was and why it's so important. We brought Mike Africa Jr. to campus last year to talk about his experiences. He met with us. He actually rapped, which was absolutely incredible. He was amazing. I mean, I think probably one of the best speakers we've had. Definitely one of the most dynamic. But we bring in speakers on a regular basis. We do trainings. So this upcoming semester, we'll be doing trainings on self-defense within activism. We'll be doing the peer mentors. We'll be doing a mediation training the day before classes start on January 27th. We'll be doing a street law class or session that Professor Hinckley is going to lead. What was the other one that we have? I know we have others. Oh, we have free speech on campus, a workshop on that, and a few others like that. The speakers that we're bringing in as well. Let's see who we've got. We've got Johanna Fernandez, who's involved with the Young Lords and has done a lot of research on them. That's an organization that basically has been within the United States working on Puerto Rican independence. We have an individual by the name of Joe Brown, who's going to be talking about terrorism within the United States and what that means in the context of activism. And the peer mentors, by the way, don't know any of this. This is all new to them too. So who else have we got, Kevin? I'm drawing a blank on some of these.
Well, we'll have a leading advocate for free speech and a criminal defense attorney who will be sharing his knowledge and experience and insight and many, many more to come.
Yeah. And one of the things that we try and do is when we have books that we read for class, we try and bring in the people who wrote them to talk about their experiences. So in some of my other classes, we've we've read a book called The Defiant. In the last couple of years, we've had Dawson Barrett come and talk, and I know both Matt and Mairead have heard them. We're going to be reading a book in the spring called Black Revolution on Campus, and we're trying to bring Martha Biondi, who wrote the book, to talk about that. We are going to be reading a book on consensus building in the process of that, and that was written by Peter Gelderloos, an anarchist who lives in Spain. He's going to be zooming in and talking with us as well. So we really try and make it a very interactive class, even if it ends up online, which is the worst case scenario. But even if that is the outcome, we manage ways to make it very interactive and make it student led. One of the things that we did last semester, and we're actually going to do it to a greater degree this semester, is we're going to have student-led sessions for a good portion of the semester. And again, Matt and Mairead don't know what they're getting into, but there's a lot, I think, to get excited about that. So let me turn it back to Mairead and Matt. But before I do, Reagan, Joey, Paige, any questions at all on what we've said up until this point? Okay, then we'll go back to Mairead or Matt. One of the things that I'd like to ask that you talk about, Matt, maybe you could talk about, we did trips to DC and New York City out of the houses over the last year, and you could talk a little bit about that maybe. And Mairead, we did a disaster relief trip to Puerto Rico, and maybe you could talk about that experience.
Definitely. I believe, yeah, that was my junior and sophomore year. We were lucky enough to be able to go to New York City and Washington, D.C. With the New York City trip, we were able to meet with environmental activists, and then we were able to actually tour the United Nations. And this is what, it was an amazing trip. Like we got up super early with the professors, and we drove to New York City. That was fantastic. And then with the DC trip, we were able to, again, same thing. We got up with the professors really early, and we drove to DC, and we stayed at Dr. Riley. The name's escaping me. What was the name of the place we were staying at?
Yeah, it was basically an old convent that was tied to some aspect of the Catholic Church. I don't remember what, but yeah.
But I mean, that trip was amazing. We were able to. It was really a series of workshops, and then like on the ground, almost like explanations, like teaching of like the disparities and marginalizations in Washington, D.C., and then of course working on workshops with people from the Catholic Worker, and then sisters and priests from all over the U.S. that are more like social justice inclined. And it was fantastic because it allowed us to have, with both things, it allowed us to have a really fantastic networking opportunity. And then of course, like allowing us to get off campus and see these things that we read about especially the United Nations. Like it's my goal to go into international law and be able to work for an NGO. It's really been, it's been fantastic, and having those trips have really, like I said, allowed us to apply what we've been learning in the classroom.
Yes, so last January, me and a few other students, Matt included, and Dr. Riley, went to Puerto Rico for a humanitarian trip. We went because 2 years before that, Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico and destroyed the island, and they really needed a lot of aid. And so we were helping fix houses, and this was still 2 years, and people still had leaks in their roofs. So the house I worked on, Juan was the owner of the house. He was super cool. He would get up on the roof with us when we were scraping and putting concrete on the roof. And then his wife would make us food every day for lunch, which is just a cool perk of it. Like, you weren't expecting it, but it allowed you to immerse in a new culture and kind of see how things were different from the US, which Puerto Rico is part of the US, but they don't get the same aid that we do. So it's really important to look at those things. And then afterwards, that spring semester, we took a class on humanitarian assistance, and we learned all the ins and outs of how these organizations work, how to choose an organization to work for, because some of them aren't as ethical as others. So we worked for All Hands and Hearts, and I would definitely do it again. We were planning on doing a trip over the summer that didn't get to happen, but they have a bunch of trips, even if you go on their website and want to look into it, because your room and board is, you don't have to pay for that. You sleep in a little hostel environment almost, and it's really neat and an amazing experience. And if you come to Niagara, I would recommend that International Humanitarian Assistance Program, because it's fun. I mean, you get to do a lot of hard work from like 9 to 5, but then afterwards you get to explore like we explored Puerto Rico afterwards. We went to the beach, did karaoke nights a lot, which was fun. So it's a really interesting experience. And Puerto Rico, there was Bahamas, there was Australia, there's a bunch of places you can go with that.
So let me put the three of you on the spot a little bit. Tell us what you're interested in, even if it's just really preliminary. Maybe what your major is, tell us where you're coming from, and maybe just a little bit about what made you decide to tune in tonight and participate in this conversation.
Hi, my name is Joey Nettles. I am a senior at Kendall Junior Senior High School. I plan on majoring in biochemistry, but I have been in Model United Nations for a couple of years, and I find all this stuff really interesting. And Niagara is one of my highest up on my list, and I was really interested in learning about a feature of Niagara that's not super common.
Yeah, thanks, Joey. And one of the things that I'll say is we do have a connection with the UN that's really stronger than any of the other schools in the area. This past semester, Matt and Mairead were in a class that we did where we worked on a homelessness initiative that we presented to the United Nations, and they then presented that. It's actually in February going to be, the research that Matt and Mairead and other students did is going to be presented at the ECOSOC, the Economic and Social Conference Committee in February. I mean, huge distinction, really, really cool. And they did excellent work on it. It was basically on the relationship between COVID and homelessness, and the research was fantastic. They had the opportunity to present that to members of the UN, and now that research is going to be taken forward, and they're asking us to continue working on that moving forward. So there will be opportunities in the future for that as well.
That's really cool to see a real life effect of this group and community.
Yeah. Reagan, how about you?
I'm Reagan. I go to Mount St. Mary Academy, and I'm thinking of majoring in environmental science. So I thought this was really cool to be able to have one of these houses that's for environmental, and it's really different from everything else I've seen. So I wanted to learn more about it.
What part of environmental are you interested in? Anything in particular?
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking more wildlife.
Okay. So master naturalist is the term that I was trying to think of before, and I couldn't think of it. So one of the things that if COVID hadn't hit that we were planning for the spring was working on a rights of nature. So in other words, there are a number of communities that are actually bestowing rights of nature. You know how corporations have rights and are treated like people. In Toledo, Ohio, they made it so that Lake Erie actually has standing in court as well and is treated for all intents and purposes like a person. The country of Ecuador wrote it into their constitution. And so we're thinking about holding a conference and then trying to write legislation to make Niagara Falls give it rights of nature. So that would be one of the projects that we could get involved with over time. So,
That's really interesting.
Paige, how about you?
Iroquois High School, and I'm interested in criminal justice, I think.
Okay. Any particular part of criminal justice? The legal aspect, the policing, which side of it?
Go into law someday. I feel like starting off criminal justice, I guess.
Okay.
That's great. And just with the three of you, different perspectives, different interests, but under this umbrella of having an interest in justice and understanding different approaches to achieving justice. And I think that's a reflection in microcosm of the dynamic that we have in the justice houses, where we have criminal justice majors, in environmental science or environmental studies majors, political science, international studies, education, biology, chemistry, and bringing together these different student perspectives, students with shared interests, shared goals, who can bring their own unique viewpoint and connect what they're studying in other courses to the work that you're doing in the justice houses. I think is ideal, and it makes for a very dynamic environment. So one of the things that I'll share, a touchstone for me in contributing to this initiative has been the house system at Harvard College, which is one of Harvard's most storied traditions. And I got a chance to see this up close when I was a student at the law school. And Harvard's houses are more than just places to live on campus. They're the center of the academic, the extracurricular, the social experience of college life. And each house at Harvard has a faculty dean, as well as live-in tutors and events and activities that the house sponsors throughout the year. So you can start to see how we're bringing that model to Niagara University. And over nearly a century, the houses at Harvard College have developed their own identities and traditions, and each house takes pride in some of the alumni who came from there. So Kirkland House, where Mark Zuckerberg invented Facebook; Winthrop House, famously, John F. Kennedy lived there as an undergraduate; Lowell House, Natalie Portman and Matt Damon, when they were students at Harvard College, were at Lowell House. So in a very real sense, students in the justice houses at Niagara get to experience this Ivy League model of a residential experience, while actually transcending it, going beyond it in some ways, because the Harvard houses, there are 12 of them. Students are randomly assigned in a housing lottery. Here at Niagara, you get the chance to select, to choose where you're living and what you're going to focus on, together with classmates, with peer mentors, with faculty, and through your collective effort, through building this community, you have a chance to really bring about a transformation on campus and beyond the campus. You get a chance as a college student to have your research presented at the United Nations, to develop environmental projects and programs that are going to make a real difference, to examine different models of criminal justice reform and much, much more.
So let me just mention a couple of logistics, and then we'll open it up to any questions or follow-up that anyone else might have. The housing for the Justice Houses is the cheapest on campus, and we've made that a priority, and that will continue to be the case. So it's no more expensive than the cheapest freshman housing on campus. One of the real benefits is the houses stay open through the entire winter break, and they also will be staying open over the summer so that you can continue to live year round in the houses. And Morgan can tell you, as someone who's not living in the houses, that that doesn't happen anywhere else on campus. That students are basically at the end of the semester told, okay, you're out, and you come back next semester. So we're trying to create a situation where you can stay on campus and continue to work on projects. Mairead mentioned the community gardens. We couldn't do community gardens if we leave in May and come back at the end of August, right? So there has to be some continuity there. We have, the houses are basically blended of all of the different aspects of justice. It's not as if one house is environmental, one is legal, and one is social justice. It's across the board, and everyone shares in those. We have 2 peer mentors in each of the houses, and then we also have some upperclassmen in each of the houses as well. So there's an opportunity to get both formal and informal mentoring and help with coursework, with discussion about what to do on campus, where to get help with certain things, all of those kinds of issues the upperclassmen are there to help with. If this is something that you do want to pursue and you do decide to come to Niagara, all you have to do is write to Professor Hinckley or write to me, let us know that you're interested, and we will set you up. And it's that easy to get started with it. So I will put my, Professor Hinckley beat me to the punch. There's my email address. Just feel free. And also, if you have any questions at all, after you've had a chance to think about it, something strikes you, you want to follow up, just shoot us an email and we'll be happy to let you know any of the details that we can provide. So, so any questions that any of this has brought up for you?
I have one that I can ask if nobody wants to. So are these houses co-ed? Are they, if I live in the house, and what if I want just my roommate to just be the same sex as me? How does that work? Also, if I live in the house, am I able to have a meal plan still? Like, what if I don't really feel like cooking my freshman year? What
Yeah.
are the logistics of that?
Cool, good questions. Yeah, Mairead, do you want to take those, or Matt?
Yeah, so the houses are co-ed. There's men and women in each house. There's singles rooms and there's also triples, which right now 2 people are living in the triple rooms. But your roommate's, like my roommate's a girl, so same sex roommate. But yeah, and there's 3 bathrooms in each house, and there's 7 rooms, I think. So like you're not really sharing a bathroom with a lot of people, which is really nice. It's not really a communal bathroom style of the dorms, which is neat. And yes, you can have a meal plan. I think freshmen have to have a meal plan. I think that's how it was this year anyway. So,
but there is also a full kitchen in the house, in each one of the houses as well. Matt, anything you wanted to add to any of that?
Yeah, full kitchen, full like fridge. It's really, it's especially the houses I think are the best place to live on campus. You're not, we have like apartments on campus, but like Varsity Village is really its own separate thing, which is fantastic. You get some space from the regular dorms, but still you're in a good position because you don't have to walk 5 miles to class.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Matt. You're in the house right now. You're in your room, right?
Yep. Can
you show us just a little bit?
Yes, I'll show you some of the posters that I have up right now. I have We the Future, Power to the Polls. A lot of these are actually from the calendar that you gave us. And then we have I have a cool constellation thing that I bought at a used bookstore in Ithaca. Love is for Everyone, Black Trans Lives Matter, Our Future, No Justice, No Peace. Of course, Black Lives Matters. But yeah, I love the rooms.
And you're in a single, right?
I'm in a single, yeah.
Okay, so you can see it's a pretty good size, pretty spacious, and the rooms in the justice houses are comparable or better than, I think, size-wise than most of the places on campus. Is that fair to say, Mairead?
Yeah, I lived in a single last year in O'Donoghue, and it was extremely small, basically 4 brick walls or 4 concrete walls surrounding you. So the rooms are much nicer, much bigger. And even if you don't want to spend time in your room, there's a lounge that you can spend time in. So it's just an easier option, more comfortable.
And because there are 3 houses, you can literally jump from one house to another. What we're doing is we're setting it up so that you'll have access to all 3. So you basically get 3 common rooms to choose from. So if you want to watch the football game and no one's watching it in your house, you could go to another one. If you want to play Magic, the Rendering, the Awakening, whatever, I don't know what the hell it is, but you can, you know, maybe someone's playing or you know, some board game or card game, you can find stuff to happen in the houses that there are opportunities to spend together. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Responding to responding to Reagan, Mairead already did, but yes, there is laundry, a dryer, and washer in each house.
Matt or Mairead, before we wrap up, do you want to talk a little bit about the social experience within the houses? Because I know the peer mentors and just the community within the houses really were able to do a lot, even with the limitations of the pandemic. Talk about movie nights, hikes, group dinners, those sorts of things.
And I have one more question that this might tie into. So can you guys give maybe some advice to somebody if they were an incoming freshman and if they were sort of on the fence, like I'm nervous to live with upperclassmen or I'm a little nervous to be there? What is some advice that you would give somebody coming into the house?
Yeah, so about being nervous living with upperclassmen. Upperclassmen are just as foolish or nervous with living with freshmen, you know, like we're not like, we're adults, but we're college students. We're not big, scary college students. We're just like you guys, just a little older. But yeah, with the social environment in the houses, like a lot of the freshmen didn't have cars this year. So I know I would carpool. We would all go to Walmart one day and all do our shopping. We went to a pumpkin patch this year and just kind of walked around, had hot apple cider and all of the good stuff. And it's just really fun to be able to have a bunch of people that you can become friends with. And we tried to play D&D. One of the first years tried to teach us D&D this year. We never got to play because it took like hours just to make our characters, which we were not aware of at 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. So we never got to play, but that was just something fun to like learn new things about. And I know like we have house 3, 4, and 5. House 4, they always watch the Buffalo Bills every single day. So I'm not really interested in Bills. I'm a Giants fan, but like if you were interested in watching that, they would all go to house 4 and have big game, like watch parties during this time. So it was really interesting.
It's definitely a great, I mean, like my last 3 years, it's been a great community to be a part of. Like Mairead said, like if you guys don't have cars, like it's not like we'll take a day, we'll go shopping. Or I remember at the beginning of the fall semester, just everyone kind of moved in a week early. So we would go to the beach, or we'd go to the falls, or we'd go to Fort Niagara. And it was a really fun time. I wouldn't be afraid to live with upperclassmen. It's just, I feel like there's more perks to it. So it's fun. I really think it's been really fun for everyone.
Cool. Well, thank you all.
Thank you guys.
So before we wrap up, just in case there is anyone watching a recording and not able to see in the chat, you can reach me at Hinckley, HINKLEY at niagara.edu, or Dr. Riley at DRiley, REILLY at niagara.edu. And if you have any questions about the houses, if you'd like to connect with one of the peer mentors or one of the first-year students living in the houses, we can certainly set that up for you. And I think we have just scratched the surface of the potential that the Justice Houses have. I very much hope that you will join the Niagara University family in the fall, and that you will consider joining us in the Justice Houses.
And good luck with your decisions. It's a big decision of where to go to college and what to do. And but don't hesitate if we can answer any questions and help to provide more information. So thanks for taking some time tonight to meet with us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
thank
Have
you
a
a
great
lot
night.
for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Okay. Take
Thanks,
care.
guys.
Nice to meet you all. And good to see you, Marie and Matt. See you in a couple of weeks.
Have a good night. Thank you all so much.
Take care. Thanks, Morgan.
Yeah, great job, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Take care.